all right. So welcome Brent Wise's team. I'm going to be in deep prayer over my friend Brent because he gets to deal with Tammy and his daughters and stuff at home, and now he's going to get to deal with all you fabulous women. So he's like a rare breed in this group. But the good thing is, y'all's resident is a male. Are you excited? Okay, well, I'm going to unmute Jay Sean, and Jay Sean is going to give you the lowdown on your resident. And I think this team is probably going to have some interesting challenges, but Gianni is super sweet and everybody loves him. He is a team player. And so, Jay Sean, why don't you just tell the team a little bit about Gianni?
Okay, Gianni is definitely, let me keep walking. All right, he's definitely a different kind of kiddo. He is looking for acceptance. He's a little confused right now in the way that he dresses, and he's definitely exploring some different avenues of like painting nails and wearing very feminine clothes. And of course we love him. We don't care. We are here to nurture him. And this is the first time he's ever felt safe enough to explore this part of his life. He's been a part of DCS, which is Department of Child Safety, his whole life. He has quite a bit of trauma that comes along with being in that arena, and he's been mixed up in some gang activity. And so he is a very sweet 19-year-old who, is finally feeling safe. And so he needs a team of people to come alongside him. He just enrolled in high school. He quit in 10th grade, so he just enrolled in high school today. He'll be going probably 3 days a week, starting maybe 4 days a week. I'm not totally sure. We haven't talked about it. I have to go to his back to school night next week. So I'll know more about it then. He likes to push the envelope. If he thinks he can get away with it, he will. And he is very much millennial. He likes to have internet access at all times. He loves video games. He loves music. And he really likes to do what all of our girls here are doing. And so he's been a learning case for all of us. We've been like, he'll ask questions like, well, if the girls can do it, can I? And at first I was like, no. And I realized how detrimental that was. So it's different. No. The girls want to be a part of my Zoom. And so we are learning to figure out if saying yes to some of those questions is healthy for him. And that's where we are right now. Doesn't sound like he's ever had healthy family members in his life. He seems to be actually pretty close to his probation officer, who is my buddy. And so there are some things that he needs to work through. He has a court case. He has, but he has a very full potential if we just pour into him that I don't even think that he's aware of. He loves hair. He wants to be a cosmetologist. And so we're going to get him through high school and we're going to help him go down that road. He's very kind, very sweet, very outgoing and willing to help out, but also a typical teenager. If he doesn't have to, he won't. But if you ask him to, he will. If it's worth his benefit, like this is worth your incentive program, then he'll do it.
Kenya, is that a nightgown?
Okay, I'm sorry. I am at work and there is no quiet places.
Okay, that's okay. So I think, and Jay Sean, hang with me. I'm going to mute you. I think one thing about Gianni is he is motivated by incentives, whether that is positive attention about his, and I don't want to call him sexually confused. I would just say he doesn't have a strong sexual identity right now. And isn't that so common in today's world? But he's been abused because of it. So we don't want to draw attention to that. And, I don't think there needs to be any kind of positive affirmation of that. I think we just kind of ignore it and just treat him like a teenage boy who needs to finish high school and is staying clean and feels safe. So a few things that I want to let you guys know about as far as the mentor team itself is it is so important that you understand the confidentiality surrounding your resident. And moving forward, you'll have up to 3 residents. And I've given you a challenge. This first one is going to be a challenge because I know if I were on the mentor team, I'd be like, what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if well, you could do that with anybody. So we're not going to walk on eggshells. Okay. We are not going to walk on eggshells, but I just want to make sure that you guys understand you don't go home and talk to your spouse about your resident. You don't post anything on social media. You don't take pictures. You don't set up private meetings with your resident where you go to the Dream Center and you're going to meet up with them. Now, let's say Shelly, y'all been meeting with Gianni for a couple of months and Shelly's at the Dream Center for something. And she's like, hey, can I just take Gianni to coffee real quick? You would go through Brent first. Brent is your go-to. He's your number 1 guy. Okay. If he has questions about it, then he comes to me. If I have questions, I will go to Jay Sean. And believe me, with this thing and texting, it can all happen in 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. I'm not talking like days of paperwork, but it's really important that you guys surround him as a team and not as individuals. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay. That's why we want to always make sure that the whole team is at the meetings. And if you can't be there, you at least FaceTime in. It won't be a Zoom situation. You FaceTime in with Brent so that he can prop you up and have you be a part of that. He did fill out his forms, but like Jay Sean said in the beginning, he didn't fill them out in a lot of detail, the packet that you guys got. And so I think that might come from the lack of motivation and the lack of, he doesn't even know what the next step is. Okay, I get my high school diploma. I go to cosmetology school. He doesn't even know what his options are. And we find that to be true of so many of our residents. They don't even know what's out there because they've been told since birth, this is who you are, this is what you do, this is how you perform, this is what you're worth. And so us pouring the love of God and the love of Jesus into him and loving him where he's at. And, you love the sinner and you hate the sin. So, I kind of want to touch base on that. Also, it's super important that you guys communicate with Brent when you are traveling in the next 4 to 6 months, what your work schedule is. If you have like a weekly commitment or a bi-monthly commitment where you're supposed to, take your dad to a doctor's appointment twice a month or something like that. Brent needs to know all of these things because he's going to be designing a schedule where you guys meet twice a month. The first meeting will be July 31st at the Dream Center. And yes, we're going to feed you. And then after that, you guys are going to have your meetings. And if you want to have them at the Dream Center, if that's the best central location and that's most convenient for everyone, that's great, because eventually you'll have a second resident that you're mentoring and possibly a third. And so if you have the meetings at the Dream Center, you can meet with one, meet with the other, meet with the other. It's the biggest bang for your time investment buck. I'm all about efficiency and love, kindness, grace, and getting it done. Brent will be sending me an after action report after every single meeting with any questions, concerns you guys have. So make sure that if you, during your meetings, you are thinking of things, go ahead and text him or email him and say, hey, can you ask Joanna this or ask her that? And eventually y'all will figure out how to find those answers yourselves. But you're going to have a lot of guidance in the beginning. Now, have y'all all decided what your lane is going to be, what your area of concentration is going to be? Brent?
So Joanna, let me jump in there. So that's actually a question that I had because everybody has responded back to me. And it looks like pretty much the majority of our team have various areas that they have either an expertise in or special skills. So that was a question I wanted to ask you. Are we going to be very defined with each person as to what area they're in, or is this going to be more free flowing?
It's going to be an overlap. So
okay.
all of the above. So like Shelley, well, Lydia, is your lane going to be medical?
Yes, women's health.
All right, so Lydia's going to be health. So Lydia will do everything from talking to Gianni about what special needs do you have as far as your physical self. Do you need braces? Do you need dental work? Do you need eye work? Do you need glasses? All the way to once he graduates, she'll be saying things like, okay, so you're about to get a job. That's awesome. Do you know how to look at insurance plans? So, and along with that, the education person's going to walk alongside. And then the finance person is going to jump in and go, now listen, if you want to have this kind of insurance, you need to be asking, having this kind of salary and doing budgets and all that. So a lot of it is overlapping, but if we have one person in charge, like being the main person in charge of each area, then that will be the person hanging on to that information. Does that make sense to you?
One
does.
person to make sure you drop a ball in a certain area, right?
Okay, Kay, I think you asked something, but you're kind of going in and out. Do you want to try that again? No.
It wasn't important.
Okay. Okay. All right, Brent, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I was just gonna say, that's something we could probably narrow down as we kind of move along, who feels comfortable in each area and who, so forth and so on. But we definitely have a lot of overlapping, which is great. Everybody feels comfortable in different areas and has expertise in different areas. So I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue for each of us to kind of grab, or for everybody to kind of grab a specific area. So we'll nail that down.
I'll give you an example. Last night, we were talking about one of our residents named Richard, and he's getting a full-time job. He's actually going to be working in my daughter's school as a parapro. And so we have the transportation person is going to sit down with him on the 31st and make sure, she's not going to do the research for him, but she's going to make sure he knows how to catch the bus and where it's got to go and what time, and then how he can start saving towards having his own vehicle, having a car. And what that looks like. That's then the finance person comes in and says, okay, you got to make car payments, you got to make insurance payments. Then the housing person comes in and says, okay, so how long do you want to live at the Dream Center? One thing that we're finding with a lot of our males is they never want to leave the Dream Center. It's a fabulous place for a guy to live. I mean, you got other guys, you're safe, you've got people telling you where to go, what to do, and all that. And so it is they never want to leave. So one of the things I'm asking the mentor teams of guys to do is start saying from the get-go, where do you want to be 3-5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Where do you want to live? What does your apartment look like? What does your condo look like? Let's do a vision board and start teaching them what it's going to take, how much money they have to make in order to have those goals come true. And someone like Gianni has never been asked those questions because they don't see their future any farther than, do I get a meal? So, and Lydia's worked with our residents as a mentor in the past, and she can tell you it can be, the stories can make you very sad, but you've got to go in knowing that you are taking them from where they are right now and you're going forward. You are not going to let them live in the past anymore, and you may have to remind them of that every single time you meet. We're not going backwards. Let's go forward, because they have so much opportunity ahead of them. This is a sharp guy. He just has some sexuality, I don't want to say confusion, but mystery or questions, okay? All right, what else? Robin, what you got, girl?
I just had a question, and maybe this, is a dumb question, but though, how come Gianni, is at the
Center?
yeah, because I know you have other programs besides, trafficking.
Right.
So I was curious what, which is he in?
So that's a good question. When someone comes to the Dream Center and they feel like it's a match there, that's why they have that 2 weeks of, kind of getting acclimated and them making sure this is the right program for them. They make sure that it's a fit. For him, it's a fit. With his background of abuse, and again, a lot of y'all have never worked with the residents before. We don't ever say, hey, can you tell me your story? If they want to tell you their story, they can, but you don't ask. Like, I don't know really if he's a hugger, but you don't ever hug any of them or touch them or anything like that without their permission. This group right here is going to be my most interesting group as far as the task that you're going to be taking on. So I would be in very deep prayer about how it's going to go. What, Robin?
I said, I have had, a lot of clients who had, gender, identity issues. So I understand that part of it a lot. And he's young, so he's obviously struggling and, with this, I'm trying to say possibly abuse, but we don't know for sure everything. So, okay. So, yeah. And then, also just last question, because I do have, a background in disabilities, oftentimes, the kids are, coming out of these programs do have that, and that can affect, education and then employment. So how would you ever address that? I mean, I know I won't ask him up front, but.
Are you in charge of education?
I put down, I can do, I have a lot of experience in career counseling and then, I guess you could say, education too, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I can tell you guys if he says my goal is to get my high school diploma and then go to cosmetology school, the last thing we want to do, and I think Jay Sean, if you want to unmute, the last thing we want to do is to make him feel like that's really not a good plan. And I know you wouldn't do that, Robin, because you're smart, but your tendency is to be like, you could do so much more. Well, again, they can only see as far as they can see. We see like the world like this. They see the world like this. So,
Joanna, isn't this process more of a kind of a stair-stepping process? I mean, just to get out and to get your driver's license and to get your GED and then to get that stair step done. And then the next stair step is cosmetology school. And then, hey, look beyond that. And then it's another up. I mean, none of us go from the bottom level to the top level. We've all taken those stair steps up. So I think it's a matter of just, like everything you've said is to, just embracing, ignore the shortcomings he appears to have and just press forward with kind of coaching him on and getting him going to each one of those steps that he needs to take to get to where he wants to be.
yeah. And a couple of things I forgot to remind myself to tell you guys, we don't ever want to give them money. Jay Sean's like, that's right. If they ask for things like, hey, next time we meet, can you bring me something? You can say, well, let me run that by Miss Joanna. And then I can talk y'all through that. I did send out an email to everybody saying that some of the groups have asked, can we bring them gifts? Can we bring them baskets? Keep that really on the down low. Like if you want to pick up a pair of socks or something like that and say, hey, I was just, I was at the store and these were on sale and I was thinking about you. But the last thing we want to do is set a precedent of huge gift giving. this is a family situation, and just imagine meeting with your child. You don't give them a gift every time you sit down and talk with them, right? But I will tell y'all this, and Brent will probably like this. If you do meet at the Dream Center and someone says, hey, let's bring some snacks or whatever, that's smart. Because people, well, first off, guys love food, but people bond over food. It almost like it gives you something to do with your hands, you know? So be kind of talking about that a little bit. It doesn't have to be, we're going to bring 3 pizzas or we're going to bring a fruit tray. I mean, I don't care if it's Belvitas in little packages, but kind of be thinking that way too, you know, hey, why don't we just bring some muffins or something, or some apples? And because people do tend to bond over food. I don't think that I have anything else. Brent, do you want to talk to your team?
I wasn't ready for that one, but no, I mean, I'm just looking forward to meeting everybody on the 31st, and probably talking a little bit more over the next week or two, or even up to the 31st, as to what days would be best for us to meet, where we would like to meet at. Those are discussions, I mean, we probably have in person, and kind of talk amongst each other via text or on the 31st after we meet him.
Okay.
But, and again, and also to sort out kind of who wants to take the lead in the different spiritual areas. I'm new to this, Joanna, as you know. I've never done anything like this before, as far as the mentoring in a team environment. So I kind of have a conceptual idea of maybe how it's going to go. That could be completely 100% wrong. So I'm going to be leaning on a lot of you all to, here's Amanda. She was able to join us.
Look at her. She looks so smart with her little mask. So Brent, can you just tell them a little bit about your background and why I wanted you to be a team leader to start with? I'm
not sure why you really wanted me, but I'll tell you about my background a little bit. I was a law enforcement officer for 22 years, Phoenix Police Department. I worked patrol down on Van Buren and all those areas, worked gang squad, violent street gang task force, joint terrorism task force, all that kind of good stuff. I retired about 11 years ago from that career. Now I'm an intelligence officer with the Department of Homeland Security. I do actually intel reporting on human trafficking and human trafficking events, along with other stuff that we cover as well. So, and maybe the other half of this is I do have a lot of mileage under my belt. I'm 54 years old. Like Joanna mentioned before, I've been married 33 years and have 2 daughters, grown adult daughters. Something that, and this helps toward the male side of the house, is I do have a lot of men's ministry background and men's ministry type work. But again, I mean, this is definitely something new, but I think all of us have the skill sets, the background and such to kind of work this and make it very successful. So thank you, Joanna. I will do my best to keep everything organized. I'll do my best to communicate with everybody. Feel free to pick up the phone and call me. If my texts don't make sense or my emails don't make sense, because, you know, it's sometimes you lose the spirit of what's behind being said with the text messages and all that. So feel free to call me. I'm available. I'll definitely answer my phone or call you right back. But, you know, I'll do my best to be a great communicator, so where we all know where we're meeting, what time we're meeting, and any changes going on.
And so on that note, I just want to, 2 more things, and I'll let you guys go. One is, please send Brent tonight, if possible, your schedule. You can either do it when you're open or when you're not. And then any travel dates you have coming up, there might still be a meeting while you're traveling, but you could always FaceTime in. And also, y'all see Lydia. I would say if we're the Brady bunch, she's like, I think she would be Mr. Brady down there, okay, in the center, if your screen looks like mine. But Lydia knows, she knows the routine at the Dream Center. She knows how it works there. She knows the ins and outs. She's been there a lot. very involved. She's very quiet. So she's kind of the opposite of me, but use her as a resource as well, because she can really put her pulse on the heart of things. And with her background in medicine, she's a great resource. I'm very excited to have Lydia participating in this. And then as soon as y'all feel acclimated with Gianni and you've met a few times, we want to do full program launch with all the residents by October. But Brent will let me know, hey, Joanna, I think we're ready to take on a second one. And at that point, you know, we can go from there. But again, y'all can meet at the Dream Center if that tends to be the best. I'm so geographically challenged that I actually printed off a map of Phoenix because my daughter got so sick. Now, where'd it go? So sick of me calling her and going, how far is Tempe from Peoria? How far is Glendale from Tempe? How far? She's like, oh my gosh, get a map. Well, it's over here somewhere. So I started looking at where everybody lives and stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna let the team leaders do this. Because that's just a mess. This Phoenix is a mess. And if we ever want to meet at the Scottsdale Dream City Church campus, we can always have access to that. So that's another option. And eventually y'all may even want to meet with your residents at a Starbucks or a coffee shop or a restaurant or something like that. So you're going to have carte blanche after the first couple of meetings. It's really going to be fun.
The resident has transportation.
Okay, we can get them wherever we need to get them. And the team leaders are all going to have a copy by the last week in August of the schedule, the class schedule. And they can also see, hey, oh my gosh, if we can all meet on a Friday afternoon, I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, they don't have any classes in this block. That's perfect. So that way it's not dipping into your weekends. Okay. All right. If there are no more questions, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You have no idea how awesome this is going to be. And you guys are rock stars. And I so appreciate you. And you're going to get so many blessings from this, as well as blessing these residents. But you're going to get so many blessings from it. And Brent, thank you so much. I wish I could clone you as a team leader. I would use you.
Joanna, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure, Ken.
In the orientation meeting, they talked about classes like cooking classes or sewing classes, or is that still something in the works?
Yeah, so all of the new classes are launched right after Labor Day.
All right.
One of the classes.
I lost you, I think.
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out. So with the new Hope Education program that I'm working on, that's what I do the other 40 hours of the week. We are looking at doing a home ec class. It's called Homeworks. And the guys and the girls are going to do that together once a week, and they're going to learn all kinds of skill sets like that. And then we have another instructor that's going to come in and teach cooking and nutrition and things like that. So we got all that covered. We're excited about that. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you guys go because we're over time. Thank you so